We are here for episode, I believe it's 6. We are here with Bryan Osorio this morning. He is the candidate for the long-term position here at for Delano City Council. How are you doing this morning, Bryan?
I'm doing well, and hello to everyone out there tuning into this.
Well, I'm going to start off a little bit different because, I mean, we have had like Liz Morris, we have Joe Lindo, which he's for the short term. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you're a little unique, so it's going to be a little bit different. We'll ask you some different questions just because, I mean, you are probably one of the youngest candidates. You are the youngest candidate. I don't know if you're actually one of the youngest candidates that's ever ran for it. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. But, I mean, there's probably a lot of questions that people are probably asking because, I mean, they probably saw you in the parade, been walking around, walking precincts, mm-hmm. kind of getting to know the public. So, I mean, a lot of people are saying, hey, this guy is really young. He's fresh out of college. What is he going to have to offer the city if he were to get elected? So, I mean, those are my first two questions because it's like, why are you running? What made you decide to want to run for city council?
Yeah, so those are two loaded questions, but I'll try to tackle them head on. The first question is, why am I running for city council? So, hello again, everyone. My name is Bryan Osorio, and I'm running for city council. And my slogan right now, as other candidates have chosen theirs, is to be a new voice. And it's to be a new voice for community values, but also a new voice for individual resident values. I hope to integrate both of them in a way that truly represents them in the city council. And personally, though, I want to get involved with city council because I truly want to practice policymaking that I have learned in college, but also at the student government level. I learned how to draft some resolutions in the same format that they are drafted at city councils. I was involved in student government for my college, but also at the UC-wide level. And I just want to make an impact to my community in a way that I have studied, but also previously practiced. And I believe that's what distinguishes me from other candidates because from meeting some previous candidates, but also current city council members, they say that they were new to it and it was a learning experience. I believe I have an edge in that aspect because this is something that I want to do, something that I want to continue to do for a while to come.
I mean, everything's going to be a learning experience, as we know. I mean, every time you tackle something new, you're going to learn something. You're going to gain some knowledge, whether you fail. I mean, everybody's going to fail at something at some point, which is good for someone or good for anyone, really, to kind of take that to learn from that. Now, I mean, you say you have knowledge from, and I believe I read a little bit about you. It said you have like student senate, right?
Yes.
From the UC, you have some experience like that. So do you think your experience there might help you if you were elected here as city council? Do you think that experience might kind of translate?
Yes. So to clarify, student government is different from city council. For student government, I served a half term as a senator where I represented around over 24,000 undergraduate students. And at the UCY level, it was over 240,000 students. I was one of the two appointed Berkeley representatives who attended these monthly meetings at every UC. And it's a practice that I think I can transfer over to city council because it's about representing students' interests and needs. And at city council level, it's going to be about representing to the most honest and genuine level of representation.
Now, with a little experience, I've had questions asked to me because I've also had some things about running in certain positions and being involved in something like this. Because I mean, they could say that you have two responsibilities. Because your responsibility is going to be, of course, to the public, because the public is electing you. You represent the public as a city, and then also the workers, because you're also going to be representing the city workers. Because city of Delano, city council, you represent all those public workers, everyone that works within the city. So what would you say is more of your responsibility? Is it going to be to the public, to the workers? Is there a balance? What is your take on that?
I think you touched on it right now. I believe it's a balance because if I can't delegate responsibilities to the city employees, then I really can't promise the city community members anything if I can't work with both. Because it's from speaking to current department heads and employees, one of the biggest concerns is sometimes the city officials, city council members are often overly delegating things or overseeing them to a point where they feel that they can't do their work and work efficiently and effectively that they know that they can do. So for me, it's about seeing how I can speak with them and seeing how I can implement that into policies. From my platforms I currently have, most of them, if not all of the points that I address, it's from talking to people within their respective fields, and that's what this campaign is about. Is about being honest with the people. Maybe I'll touch upon it later, but my current number one platform is preventing future water bill increases. I don't say that I will lower water bill increases because, again, I want to be honest with the people and see what I can do within 4 years. And maybe in the long term, it'll be possible. But at the moment, I just want to focus on preventing a future water bill increase.
Now, touching on that on the water billing, because we've asked that to the other people that we've had on this podcast, mm-hmm. their episodes, other city council members, and say, everybody knows prices go up. That's a given. We all mm-hmm. know there's inflation. We all know price of maintenance, price of wages. That's always going to go up. We know there's a price increase by 2022. It's going to be $15 an hour as far as minimum wage in the state of California. Now, as far as the increases or as far as kind of studying that, because in the past years we've seen jumps and we've learned that it was maybe not necessarily because it was planned correctly, and we've heard that maybe a plan to better do that to kind of keep it. So would you say that increases are they're going to be inevitable, but do you think they would be more fluid, more smooth, and maybe not such a jump as far as city water prices? Because there's a lot of other issues. Because you got wells, you have older wells that are going to go out, you mm-hmm. have maintenance, lines need to be replaced, and all that counts towards those increases in mm-hmm. in the water prices. So what is your plan, or what is your vision for that?
Yes. So again, you touched on it towards the end, how many of these increases could have been prevented, looking at it retroactively, if past city council members would have acted upon the falling apart of these wells, the contamination of these wells. Of course, the state had to do with raising the bar for how many parts per trillion that you could allow in terms of arsenic and I believe TCP, but that might be just Bakersfield. Because but the state did that for the well-being and the public health of the community. And what I see is that yes, increases are inevitable, but in 2013 when they ruled that it would be a 75% increase in utility rates, that was astounding. That's almost ridiculous in my opinion, because in 2017 we saw in Bakersfield that they were going to see how to increase their rates, and it was going to be over 45%. Last year, the average water bill in Bakersfield was $61. For Delano, given the 5-year plan, the 75% increase would amount to $65. So we see an increase that's even above the average that current Bakersfield residents pay on a monthly basis. So for me, that's the issue with me. The issue is that our community, from what they've expressed, is we pay more than Early Mart, we pay more than McFarland, we pay more than Bakersfield, and we are a different city, but I don't believe that's fair. So what I plan to do is, as we approach the end of this 5-year plan coming this summer, is seeing how we can talk to other city council members if I'm elected, and seeing how we can lobby for other funds, because this past legislative cycle, there was a clean and affordable drinking water fund that would address water issues, because the water issue, as some people have expressed, is a complex issue. It's not just unique to Delano, but it's a Central Valley issue as well, because you got the issue of affordability, but we got the issue of clean water. So this in Sacramento, they were trying to advocate for this water fund bill that would aim to give communities like Delano, the resources, the grant money, the funds to be able to, replace these water wells or make it more affordable for people. But we don't see the city really advocating or pushing for these bills, because, if we are able to get some people to advocate for them, not just, city council, but the people, and it would go a long way towards addressing any kind of change, not just at the city level, but in the Central Valley and state of California. And that's what I envision. I envision our city to be more involved because currently, from again talking to the people, it's that we don't see as much active engagement from our current elected officials, and that's something people say like, Bryan, what do you have to offer? I believe I offer some insight into how Sacramento works, but also into how to truly work with the people on their needs in a really effective and cost-effective manner, but also that's ethical as well.
What was that statistic you said about $66 at Bakersfield?
Yes. So
last year?
Yes, that was last year.
2017. So, man, that's actually pretty good because I wish I could pay $65.
Yeah, it was 61. Average 61.
Average 61.
Yes.
Yeah.
They didn't increase it though because they sued the company that was that dropped the TCP chemical into their ground and water back in the 70s and 80s, and so they got money from Shell and another company. So they didn't have to increase it after all. It was in place for a year, but they were planning on doing it for 3 years. So they don't have an increase because they sued the source that was contaminating their water.
Now, outside of water, outside of everything else we've talked so far, is there any other issues that you seem necessary to take upon yourself or take to gather the other council members to advocate for coming the election should you be elected?
Yes. So I have 3 platforms specifically, and the first one was prevent future water bill increases. The second 2 are how do we embrace our marginalized and underserved communities, and the third one is how do we inspire our youth as well as our young adults. And do you want me to go into detail into both?
No, yeah. You can go ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my second one stems from the lack of lack of representation again that I see for communities. From what
what is IC for community? What is that?
No.
The UC for. Sorry, I thought it was a term.
No. So as I've gone to the other, so I've gone to the west part of town, and when I talk to people, they say that Mr. Hill, the city council member Hill was one of the people who were advocating for more more resources to that side of town, and for me, I do see it in a way that addresses our underserved communities, but I want to see it in a way that we look at the root of the problem, and oftentimes we don't necessarily look at the demographics of the people who need more resources. That they don't ask for these resources, but that it would go a long way in providing for them. So. We are an immigrant town. I believe that's something that we can say. We are an immigrant town, but I don't see enough pro-immigrant policies here at the city. We are restricted, given that it is a city government, but there's definitely a lot more that we can do in ensuring their safety, as was brought up this past year, given the presidential administration. But also in terms of, there's a lot of criticisms about why there isn't a lot of, quote, legal, quote, immigrants. So for me, what I would see is how the city can do a legal defense fund, as other cities have been doing in response to the deportation tactics that have gone across the country, and seeing how we can ensure that they have representation if detained, or if they want to pursue, their path to citizenship, that we can also assist them in that way.
No, I believe I know we are in an immigrant town, and I understand that, but. And I'm for. If you're going to immigrate to this great country, like you said, the path to citizenship or become a permanent resident,
mm-hmm.
That's great. That is a good thing to look forward to. But as far as you're saying about protection and defense fund, now, isn't that like what I think Arvin was trying to do, like the sanctuary city? Is that what you're saying, like kind of sanctuary status or something different?
No, so. I tried pushing for a sanctuary. I tried introducing the sanctuary city policy 2 years back after meeting with 3 of the 5 city council members. Unfortunately, it didn't go through, as there was a lot of concerns about whether they would get funds cut from, the threats being made at the national level. If you become a sanctuary city, you'll have funds cut. So that didn't go through. But I was referring more to just specifically a legal defense fund. Legal defense fund meaning, we have a lot of immigrants who pay sales tax, and that revenue goes to the city. So I believe that they have a big stake in also what services are provided for the community. And of course, this legal defense fund will not occur if it doesn't have the support of the people. And but this is something that I do want to push for because, again, there's a lot of community members, specifically immigrants, who pay the sales tax, who contribute to this economy, but we don't do enough to return the favor.
I see what you're saying on that. I mean, I don't have I'm not against anything, or I'm not for a certain thing or anything, but I see how the city might have voted to not do the sanctuary city. Like I said, all the other cities like I've seen in California, they don't want to do that because you could lose, and they have said that you will lose federal funding or some of the funding that comes from the federal that trickles down through state and into the cities, because it's vital. A lot of that is vital, and without it, you could see layoffs. You could see a lot of services get cut within the city. So, I mean,
yeah, I think I could clarify that.
Yeah.
So, I think I should have clarified earlier. So there's been a lot of threats about how the president says that they will cut money. However, the president doesn't have the quote power of the purse quote. He or the presidential administration can't cut funds from a city. They can put a lawsuit against the city, but even then, we've seen states getting sued by the presidential administration, but the judge has favored in the side of the city because, again, the presidential administration cannot cut the funds. It has to be voted on by Congress or the state government. And so I think that's a big misconception. And even if the government tried to cut resources, it would be to specific grants that the law enforcement uses, which in this city, from what I looked into, didn't really have any, because it'd be like if you had a jail cell for immigrants, they would cut the funds for that. So it was very, very narrow in terms of the services that they would cut. But in news media, we only get the taglines, and it just spreads these misconceptions that the presidential administration can do this. So in reality, there's really little that could be cut from the city, but that's what I was here trying to advocate and saying that it's there's all these misconceptions, but hopefully I can clear that up for the people who I talk to.
When we think about that, as far as immigration and immigrants here in this town, would you say that maybe a better solution, because this is just my opinion, I mean, I may be wrong,
you're a community resident,
don't judge me on this. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, thinking out of the box on it, because I mean, I see the elementary school district, and I've seen other school districts where they partner up with foundations, like I believe UFW did partner up recently in the past with the school districts to offer learning programs, like adult school programs for parents of the students, and within that education they were able to kind of get the ball rolling and get towards getting permanent resident status or get citizenship status where they could be a citizen. Because I mean, ultimately, I mean, I see that that's the best goal, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, because I mean, when you're a citizen, you vote. I mean, I believe if you're just a permanent resident, you can't vote. So I mean, ultimately, we do want the people to become citizens, because then they can take part in this wonderful thing that we have, it's elections. So we can see progress and see change within all of our communities. So I mean, that's just my opinion. If rather than say let's start a defense fund or a legal fund for that, what if we were to put it towards education? Because I mean, I think education is key in everything, because whether you don't know how to do something, or you don't know how the laws affect you, or how your status might impede the safety of your family, whether if you're going to be able to stay here, or you might have that possibility of being deported. And I believe that education would probably be a really great path to introduce. And I'm pretty sure that there's foundations. You have great foundations, farm workers. I mean, the majority we know are farm workers here in this town. And those foundations could be vital to work within the city. I mean, the city has spaces, community centers, senior citizen centers, where they could provide rooms access and say, okay, here's this building, this company wants to partner with us. Let's offer these classes, and this would be a pathway to their citizenship. Do you, if say that were to happen, would you be in favor of something like that?
Yeah, so at the moment, I am in favor for whatever will benefit the community the most. I think that sounds like a great idea if we were able to partner up with foundations, because I believe there's a branch. It's called the Cesar Chavez, I believe, Educational Fund or Institute, but they currently teach farm workers, English, because that is one of the biggest barriers that immigrants often face is the language barrier. However, I would still be pushing for a legal defense fund because it's costly. It's costly to attain an attorney and go through all the fees that come with this process. But no, I'd be open to talking with foundations and seeing how we can promote education, because education is a powerful tool. Like you mentioned, when we talk about when people hold Know Your Rights workshops, the purpose of that is so that people can be educated on what their rights are, but also what steps to take if something unfortunate were to happen. But yeah, I agree with the education aspect, but I would also be, again, trying to see how we can come to a consensus on this fund for legal defense.
Now, is there anything else you would like to add? Anything else personally or for your campaign that you could see that would be vital for people to learn?
Yes.
Or to know, that to help them with their decision this November?
So in terms of anything else I have to add, I believe that you brought it up in the beginning. You talked about the age aspect that voters will have to consider. I am the youngest candidate on the ballot for anything in Delano voters, for any of the ballots that Delano voters will be receiving or voting on November. And I believe this is also an advantage. I believe it's an advantage because it is a new perspective. But for my third platform that I didn't really discuss on, it's that I want to see how we can work with youth, our children, and also how we can work with young adults. And I break it down because oftentimes when we talk about, our youth are the leaders of tomorrow, we often, don't focus on the people who are going into college or college eligible or college age, to be more precise. And for me, I want to focus in youth in terms of, how we can invest more into the recreational department of the city, because there's a lot that we can grow on. From talking to parents, it's, they would like to see a lot more from the recreational department. Not to say that they are doing a great job, but they do see that there's a lot of potential for, for personal child growth, but also for how the community can start, feeling like a community for its children. We have sports. That's really big. When we talk about the glue that holds the city together in terms of a culture, sports, football, baseball, basketball, tennis, and other sports, it's what holds the community. So I would definitely like to see what other aspects we can explore for our children in terms of the recreation department. And for the young adults, they have a low tendency to come out to vote in elections historically, and not just, previous election, not just, from 10 years ago, but historically, young people are less likely to turn out to vote. And, people are, why does this occur? Why does this occur? But there's not really, an active effort to get to learn about the needs of young adults. And for me, being a young adult, it's a personal endeavor that I want to take, and seeing how we can be more present with, again, our youth, but also young adults, because it's something that I believe that if we foster a trustful relationship, it can go a long ways in their commitment to this city in the future.
Trying to ponder something real quick.
Yes, no worries.
That's great, and I'd like to see that. I really like to see it, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this podcast and listening to it, they'd want to really see that come forward. I know we talked on a previous episode with David Couch, and he said that I think they already are in the talks. I think it was him and Councilman Aguirre that they're trying to do the new sports complex. Mm-hmm. And because I know we know Bakersfield has one, and now they're trying to get Delano to have a sports complex, which would bring in revenue within that area, because you have out-of-town sports activities that can come in, as well as better facilities, because we learned that right now our old baseball fields out there in Memorial Park, they're not really up to par. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to host a good event or statewide for Little League, I mean, you can't do so with those old orange sodium lights that they have out there. It's you can't hardly see anything. It's not like the new modern stadiums like we have at the high schools. So I mean, yeah, I strongly believe we need to really invest in the youth because they are the future, and they will be the ones leading us when we get older and we no longer we want to retire and we want to see the change. They're the ones that are going to be instilling us, and I hope that more people see you as a kind of a motivation, because we don't see too many younger people, especially under 30, under 25, really wanting to. I know we've had a few, I mean, very few in the past, maybe only one other that's been under 30 that I can recall. Don't quote me on it because I'm probably not sure about that. But I know that there hasn't been very many to take on the task to want to run a campaign, to try and do something to better the community. And I really appreciate your ambition to want to take on something like this to better our community.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up that last point about that. You hope this to be a motivator for other people, and that's one of the biggest things that, win or lose, I hope that young people see what they are capable of. To run for city council, you just have to be registered to vote in Delano, 18 and over. I just hope that people find it within themselves that if they want to achieve any change, they can just look deep down and see whether they're able to commit, not to just to politics, but whatever they want to do, you can get involved in the community in a variety of ways. And I just hope that it does serve as some motivator, because from most of my team is young. If I can give a shout out to Angelica, my campaign manager, who's 21, studying at UC Berkeley, Hector and Juan, who are Bakersfield College students, Yasmin, who just graduated from Fresno State, and Olga, who's in DHS right now, 16 years old, and Joseph, who's also at Bakersfield College, and Rafael, who's at CSUB. So we have a lot of young people who are helping us out, and it really, it really motivates me seeing, that they are helping me with this campaign, but also that, it's the youth getting involved, and it's very powerful for me. And I'm sure when we're going door to door knocking, seeing young people knocking, I hope it's just as powerful for them.
Yeah, because I know the number one thing I even see, I mean, I'm older than you. I'm probably about you're 22, so I'm about 8 years. I'm not that much older than you, but I mean, I see that walking door. They didn't tell me, you're too young. I was like, wait, you know what? I have the belief, and probably you do too, that, I mean, age is mostly a number. I mean, even older people will say the same thing. I was like, oh, I'm so or over 50 or over a certain age group. And I was like, age is only a number. Well, that should also translate down to the youth, because it's just a number. I mean, you cannot say just because a number, there's a difference in intellectual. How you're going to handle things intellectually. Because, I mean, we've seen a lot of great people much younger than us and do great and amazing things.
Yes.
Through a lot of ways, social media, through education, through science and everything that we do, and it's good to see that it's starting to grow, especially in this community, because we need some change. We need some updates. We need to really see this place grow. I know Marketplace has been growing slowly, and it takes time. It takes a lot of work. And you know what, before we do, and that's another one I want to ask you, is because we've touched on downtown. We've touched on Marketplace. So as far as bringing in businesses, bringing in other companies that want to come in, or that you would like to bring in to the community, what is your plan for that, to revitalize this community with new business and new infrastructure?
Thank you for asking that question. Just before I touch on this, just to add on what you had mentioned about age being just a number, often people jokingly ask, aren't you too young to be involved in politics? And I respond, I accept that I am young, but you can never be too young to see that there is a change needed in this community. But moving on to businesses. So in terms of businesses, I want to see how I'm growing up here since the age of 7, and I've seen like how people have to drive to Bakersfield, how people have to drive to Tulare or Visalia or LA or Fresno. It's there has been a lack of businesses that some people prefer. So we got Walmart, we got the Maya Theater recently, and I think those are popular attractions within the city. However, I do want to focus on how we can help local businesses, because local businesses are the heart of not just Delano's economy but the U.S. economy. There's a lot of revenue that can come from having a store like Walmart, but it's the local businesses that create the culture of the city, because they are just they are the embodiment of the American dream. Because without them, we wouldn't have these other corporations. It stems from the local business. So I want to see how we can promote and support these local businesses. I think a topic that I've often heard is how we can reconfigure downtown or Main Street Delano so that it becomes a popular spot for the people. But I do see how other people like my age and older, how they would like to see more attractions so that they can whenever they ask the questions, what is there to do in Delano, they want to have a better response than going to the theaters and Walmart. So I don't have an answer for these bigger businesses to come, other than bowling or roller skating, rollerblading. But for me, it's I would put a focus on local businesses and seeing how we can not only address what the residents would like to see, but also what local businesses would like to see. Because I have talked to local businesses during the summer, trying to see if they would support me. And one of the biggest things is how can we clean up Main Street? How can we promote their businesses compared to companies like Walmart?
I mean, Walmart. You look at big business. You look at Walmart. You look at McDonald's. I mean, they started as a small local business, and then they slowly grew into the giants that they are today. And I think that needs to be pushed for here in the city, because I mean, downtown is really, really nice. It's actually a really nice downtown that we have, but it needs a lot of improvement still. And there's a lot of empty places that need to be renovated, need to be updated. I mean, we've had theaters before.
Yes.
Before the Maya Theater. I mean, everybody remembers going to Sierra Theater. I remember going to Sierra Theater. I never really remember going to the other one that was on Main Street.
Yeah, it's a red building.
It's a red building. I don't even think there's anything in there anymore, or what's going on with that building. But I mean, those things can be revitalized, because I mean, one thing that I see that would be great to see is a venue. Not like wedding, quinceañera venue or a place to have a party, but a place for entertainment. Because you see the growth in Bakersfield. Bakersfield is a prime example of that. You have 1933. I mean, I know B Riders kind of just closed. You have other places where you can go and have a good time, whether it be a comedy show, whether it be a concert. I mean, they got some pretty good acts besides the big Rabobank. There's a lot of small places, and those small places are really nice. I personally prefer the small venue where you can go see an act and go see a concert, have a good time. And that's missing here in Delano. We don't have that. Still got to drive 30 miles. We got Walmart, but Walmart still doesn't have everything that Bakersfield Walmart or Tulare Walmart has, because there's still some missing things. And it's like, oh, well, they don't have it here. I check online. Oh, they have it in Bakersfield. I still drive to Bakersfield to go get it.
Yes, no, I totally agree with that idea. After speaking with a friend, it's something that they would like to see. Whether they purchase a theater or whether they have to go to a different venue, it's something that they would like to see. How they can get the community involved with that, because live entertainment would be very beneficial for the community, but also very entertaining as well. But that's a great idea. Thank you for highlighting that, because if young people were to be interested in something, I believe it would be something to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, just put it out there. I mean, coffee shop thing. I know in college we did like coffee shops and other little gigs throughout, and one required for music classes. So I mean, let's get them businesses involved. Let's get small little coffee shops. We got a lot of talent in these high schools. Yes. There's a lot of talent in the high schools. You go to any of the school band, if you really follow their band competition, you see their national level that they could really compete in. And a lot of those kids are really, really talented. And unfortunately, they don't have a local outlet where they say, oh, hey, I'm going to play here, or we got this band, or this guy just singing and playing at the evening. Because, I mean, it's nice. I mean, you go to places in bigger or out of town, LA and other areas, and you're sitting down eating. You got a guy, either a small trio or a guy playing a guitar singing. It's kind of nice to just enjoy a meal, enjoy a conversation, and listen to some nice live entertainment. And we have the people here in Delano.
We do.
We have it, but there's no venue.
Mm-hmm.
There's no outlet. I know Starbucks probably won't allow it because they're kind of like a national chain, but we have other places. I mean, it's hard to say because, I mean, we got a lot of Mexican food. I mean, most of the time you go, you see a mariachi group, which is, it's okay because, I mean, that goes with it, but it kind of seemed nice to kind of put that idea out to the people. Say, hey, let's start giving more to the youth and start giving more to the entertainment, start using all these resources and all these talents that we have here in town.
Yeah, I believe it will be amazing seeing if it can be from a bottom-up approach and seeing, you know, how we can scout for local talent and, you know, just give them this venue and make the magic happen. I think that, again, I thank you for bringing that up because if we're finding ways in how to, you know, get the community involved, I think this is a great way. But yes, I completely agree.
Well, is there any last remarks before we end this podcast?
Yes. So so again, my name is Bryan Osorio, and, you know, it would be an honor to receive your vote and your support for this November election. You know, if you want to learn more about, you know, who I am, feel free to visit BryanOsorio.com. And again, thank you for having me on this show. It's for me, I was going to say it in the beginning, but this, you know, this type of media, this type of coverage is necessary for the community to know who their community representatives are, because we oftentimes have to just receive a mailer or, you know, have to wait till they come to our door. But I really appreciate your podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Bryan. We really appreciate having you on this morning. And tune in. Be sure everyone to tune in for the next coming episodes. We hope to have. We still have a couple more for the for city council, as well as some other positions that we should have coming in for county and state and Senate. Hopefully, we can get them in before Election Day. So everyone, please use these podcasts to kind of better your judgment, better your selections, because remember, voting is it is the people's choice. It is the people that are going to see the progress and vote for that. So remember, vote November, vote November 6th. If you have your absentee ballot, make sure you fill out your ballot, send it in, because without it, there's no voice. So I mean, again, thank you for being here, Bryan. You can follow him. We'll place the link on the bottom of the screen right there for you for your website. And go check out all the other candidates. Ask for it. I believe there are some town hall meetings that are coming up. So I mean, be involved in that. If somebody goes to the door, I know some people can kind of say it can get kind of annoying sometimes. But I mean, hey, how else are you gonna know the people from one-on-one to meeting the actual persons besides things like this podcast? But that's the only way, and that's the way that we're going to see progress in our town. So again, thank you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.